What is up, you guys? This is HJJ Halloween, and today I am back to kind of take a trip down memory lane and talk about what I think have been the best years at Spirit Halloween, because I know I just came off making a video about why 2020 I think is pretty much the worst year in Spirit Halloween history, and I don't want to sound like a Spirit Halloween hater. Okay, they've had some amazing years in the past. That's obviously why we all love the store, and so I wanted to come on here and talk about which ones are my favorite. I thought it'd also be a great opportunity for you guys to comment below which years have been your favorite. So I'm only going to do a top 5 in this one because they've really only been open for, since 2008. So if we did like 10 years, it would kind of be almost the entire time. Aside from that, I've really only had a certain amount of them in my in my memory since I was old enough to be like going there and remembering it. So I didn't want to do any that came like before. So I would say anything that's like 2011, I didn't even include in this list because I just don't remember it enough. So I'm talking about years in particular that I remember being in the store. So these are from first-hand experiences. So the year that I'm going to be putting at my number 5 best in Spirit Halloween history is 2018. I actually saw some of you saying in the comments of my 2020 analysis video why that you thought 2018 was one of the best years they've had. Now, I'm sure a lot of you probably have really only been into Spirit Halloween for its recent history, which I consider to be kind of like 2017 and on. That's kind of when I've been doing my channel mainly. So like for those of you that have really been in that time, I would say 2018 is definitely the best year because in fact, I think it is really the only one that makes my list from like 2017 and on. Now, here's the thing with 2018. What really does it for me is I thought that the themes were actually really, really solid. I loved the farm theme. I always love when they go for a farm theme. You'll see there's another farm theme in this, video. So I really, really loved the farm theme in the front. I thought it was just really well done. I thought it felt very, it wasn't too basic looking. It was kind of random the way they had it laid out, but it was very fun to walk around in. It gave it this very organic feeling. And I also thought that the haunted house in the back looked incredible, especially when it was fully done. In the walk-in element, I think this was one of the first years they did that, where you could really just like walk into it. Like they've had things where you could walk into the theme into some way or another, but not really like walk in and have like a roof over your head. So, other than maybe the 2017 bridge, but really you were inside the house and they actually had some elements in there. They had some props in there. And so that was a really, really awesome in-store experience element. So the reason that it even places only at number 5 and not higher is honestly because I felt like the props in 2018 were just a little bit lacking, especially the ones they placed in the back theme. A lot of them were returning and a lot of them were just underwhelming. And I felt like if they had really come with a great lineup, like maybe even the lineup from 2019, which I thought was even more superior, and placed it in these themes, then it could have been really incredible. But for me, a lot of what makes the year a good year is the themes, because they always have kind of a fair share of good and bad props. So most of what this is all based on is the in-store experiences, which is the themes. But I feel like certainly the reason this one places at 5 instead of maybe 4 or 3 is because I thought the props could have been a little bit better. But 2018 was a really solid year. It was the year that I actually worked at Spirit Halloween, so maybe I kind of have a bit of a connection to it. But I really just felt like the themes were very like on brand. It felt very Halloween, and it was a very fun time at Spirit. So the next year that I have on my list is going back 2 years to 2016. And 2016, once again, I felt like it was a year that had really, really great and on-brand themes that just felt very Halloween-y. And I think you'll see a theme in, kind of the years that I have on this list is kind of the ones where I really like when the in-store experience feels very Halloween, because that is kind of the whole point. And I really loved the clock tower. I think the clock tower was an iconic theme. If you were a Spirit Halloween fan back in 2016, I think you would always remember it because in the main stores, it was so huge and tall. And unfortunately, at that time, I wasn't really going to the flagship, so I don't think I ever saw it in its full glory, but I did see it on video. And I really, really loved the way that the trees looked. They had some awesome props incorporated in all of these themes. It was just very elaborate. It was very engaging. They had Cerberus in the front. As you can see here, they had the 2 big gargoyles. You would walk all the way around. There was a werewolf in the back. That tire swing boy I don't think was supposed to be there, but there was just something cool on all sides of this theme, and it just looked dope. And then also you had the back theme, which was the hotel, and I think that was probably my favorite in the year, mainly due to the props that were in it. We had Twitching Banshee, Electrified Corpse, and of course, Floating Ghost Girl. And you guys know I'm a sucker for those possessed girl props because I think they're kind of the scariest and the the coolest. And I loved Floating Ghost Girl in stores as well. The hotel also felt kind of like something you would walk inside because you kind of had some beams above you, and it had them in the elevators. I thought it was very intricate the way you had like the bells in the front. Morning Glory was also awesome, as well as that Reaper in the front was also great. And then you had all of the props in these like different compartments with the like elevator like arrow at the top that's pointing to the different floors. You had the lights flickering. You had the hotel sign in the front. It was just all very intricate. I feel like, I don't know, even back then, I feel like the themes just were a little bit more well put together. I feel like sometimes they've been a little lacking in recent years. I definitely think 2021 was a step in the right direction. But regardless, 2016 was a really, really solid year. And again, the reason it places above 2018 is because not only were the themes really solid, it also just had some really awesome props. I mean, a lot of the props were really scary, really cool, and I like it when the props are really scary. I like it when the props are actually terrifying, and I feel like recent years, they've been a little bit less scary and more on the family-friendly side, so a lot of the years that I have in this list are the ones that had more scary stuff in it. And 2016 was one of the years that still had a lot of awesome and scary stuff. It wasn't one of the scariest years, definitely, but I really, really liked the in-store experience of 2016. So now we are going to go way back in time to 2012 at third place on my list of Spirit Halloween's best years. And I think, for a lot of you guys that are younger watching, you probably didn't really get to experience 2012. But let me tell you something. I feel like back in these days this was just the crazy age. I mean, this was when Spirit Halloween was truly terrifying. Now, it could just be my memory is warped because I was a kid at the time, but I'm pretty sure just based on the images and knowing what Spirit Halloween looks like today, it's become a lot more family friendly, and I really liked it when it was freaking scary. I like it to be Halloween themed and terrifying, and I felt like 2012 was one of those years. You had the iconic zombie swing girl in the upfront barn. The barn was very scary to approach because that zombie swing girl just kind of like goes all the time. You had that scarecrow guy in the back. You had some awesome classic werewolf props. I believe this is the year we were introduced to Limb Ripper. You had that grandpa in the upfront mill thing, and I just love a classic barn feel. So this, is kind of the origination of the farm theme that they kind of redid in 2018. And I think in 2018, I actually think the themes themselves looked better. I think in the back theme of 2012, you also had like a mill. So it was kind of the same look of like the barn in the woods. I think they could have done better with that, but they were still kind of in their infancy. So I'll, let them off on that. But I think that the props is really what makes it better than 2018, and what puts it at number 3 is because a lot of the props were very scary. You had Rosemary in the back, just really terrifying props. And in this barn theme, it really just felt like Spirit Halloween store was its own like haunted house that you'd go through. So yeah, 2012 for me was one of the years where they really started to pick up speed and really started to kind of become the household name of a store that they are today because of how amazing the in-store experience was. Like I said, it's almost like going to a haunted house when you visit Spirit Halloween. So really, really loved 2012. I'm a sucker for the barn themes. So 2012 places number 3. Now, if you want to talk about scary years at Spirit, then the following year was really, I think, the peak of their scariness. 2013 was truly an incredible year. Like, just from head to toe, Spirit Halloween was decked out with some of the most freaky props this year and some of the best themes in their history. The back theme that you're looking at here was the asylum, and truthfully, I think this was really one of their scariest themes to date, if not the scariest. Just based on the way that it looked, you kind of had to walk into this caged off area. It was very gray, it was very dark and spooky, and a lot of the props that you had in here were just psycho, crazy, terrifying props. I really loved the maid, or what is it called? Sorry, the nurse, that they had up front here. Really an awesome prop. The original, what is that nurse called from 2020? Miss Mercy is the original Miss Mercy up at the front, but she's even, scarier than Miss Mercy. Very simple, but scary. They had that like zombie boy in this, I believe, maybe. I'm not sure if they did. Obviously, the classic they had was Death Row. You had Rosemary. I think you had the zombie swing girl. You had that crazy girl in a wheelchair. You had all sorts of scary stuff in here, and it really truly was just terrifying. I mean, I remember being honestly scared to go in here as a kid, And looking back, I mean, they really did a great job with this theme. It really kind of felt like a haunted house. Also in 2013, we had the front theme of the clown train, which was absolutely incredible. You know, one of the first times they did an all-out clown theme. Really, they haven't done one since. And I think everyone has in their memory looking through the window of Spirit Halloween and seeing this big clown head as the entrance. It was such an iconic entrance to the store as a whole, because it really was the entrance to the whole store because it was in the front. The way they had this clown with that moving eyes, you had the lights strung up, and then you just had this train of, which was pretty basic. The train was pretty basic, but back in the time, I feel like stuff wasn't quite as complex as it is today, but sometimes the simplicity was all it needed. And yes, they had this train of clowns in the back, a lot of iconic clowns. Wacky Mole, if you guys didn't know, originated in the clown train in 2013. You had that girl in the front, which was like that, what is that called? Like fortune teller girl that spins her head, which was pretty cool and unique. Lots of awesome clowns. Bloody Bag of Jokes was in here. Very scary as well. Lots of scary, spooky clowns. And I wasn't a huge fan of the clown props at the time. Since then, I have become a fan. But this is really the origin of the clowns, where they started to become, kind of an iconic thing at Spirit Halloween. But yeah, this was just such an iconic entrance to the store. So just everything this year was really a complete hit. The props were terrifying. The themes that they were in were also very terrifying settings. I believe there was also another theme in the store, but I don't recall. But yeah, back in the day, they used to have 3 themes. So 2013 is just one of those years I remember at Spirit of it really being an iconic thing in my memory. If you weren't around or a fan of the store at the time or were too young to go, that really is unfortunate, because let me tell you, it was really kind of their peak, honestly. They've had some great years since, but 2013 was just an incredible year. So without further ado, my favorite Spirit Halloween year in their history was 2014. So really, we just had 2012, 2013, 2014. And I honestly think this kind of was their peak as far as scariness, as far as themes go. I think we still had some pretty dope years in 2015, 2016, 2017, and 2018. I think since then, there has been a bit of a decline, honestly, ever since 2017. But that is for another video. But in this video, I want to talk about why 2014 is my favorite year. Now, I think a lot of people may argue that 2013 it should be number 1 and this year should be number 2, because the back theme was a little bit more impressive in 2013. But let me tell you why 2014 holds such a dear spot in my heart. Now, first of all, the back theme was still awesome. It was kind of similar to the Asylum in, the vibe that it gave, but it was this gas station. It had the really awesome prop. I forget what it was called, the Barnyard Butcher. I thought he was a really dope prop. I think there's some, theories that he might be coming back this year, which would be absolutely incredible. I would definitely get my hands on him because he's really cool, a really unique idea, and also just was very modern in his development. Honestly surprised we saw a prop like that back then. We also had Zombie Swing Girl returning for literally the millionth time, but I absolutely love her, so that was great to see. We had that limb-eating boy. Rosemary might have been in there. I don't know if she still was there. All sorts of spooky stuff in the back. It was a little bit less a little bit more underwhelming than the 2013 Asylum, but this definitely still was very spooky, very scary, and housed some incredible props. But the reason that I really truthfully am in love with Spirit Halloween 2014 was because of the attic theme. Now, remember back in this time, they actually had 3 themes. So I think they also had this graveyard in the front. That one did have Lil Nestor, I think, or the Big Pumpkin Nestor, or maybe both. So that was also kind of iconic in its own right, but I wasn't really into that as much at the time. The theme that I really, really loved was this attic theme, because obviously you guys know that I love the Possessed Girl props, and this was the magnum opus of the Possessed Girl props. We had Peekaboo Penny right next to Broken Spine Girl, right next to Lynching Lily. These were all some of the best, most iconic Taiki Toys props in their history. That really, for me, is what made this feel like such an incredible year. And I just remember being so passionate about the 2014 store, just wanting to always go in there, check it out, watch videos of it, because I thought these props were all just so freaking scary. Now, I don't think that the attic theme itself was really that impressive, but the props inside of it were so awesome, and it really didn't have to be that crazy because it was just a middle of the store theme. But I thought the simplicity of it was also what made it so awesome. When I think Spirit Halloween, I really do think of 2014 and this attic, because all of the props in there, even on the side, we had that doctor guy. We also had the possessed wall hanger. I think there was an electrocuted dude. And in the front, we had some of those roaming props. I mean, not one prop in here was a dud. And that is why these previous years have just been so incredible, because there wasn't any filler props. Every single prop was something I had on my wish list, and I couldn't even get everything I wanted at the time, but that's what made it so magical. magical was that I had to choose out of all these incredible props, which one was like my fave, which one was my iconic one. For me, in this year, it was Broken Spine Girl, but since I have gotten Peekaboo Penny and Lunging Lily, but at the time, it was just so fun and enjoyable to be at the store and walk around in these themes because they were so scary and it wasn't predictable. The props were new. The props were fresh. They had very unique, creative scares, and everything felt new. They didn't have all of these props that just repeated or were reskins of the same thing. Broken Spine Girl was so different. Peekaboo Penny was so different. Lunging Lily was different. A lot of these props that were back in these early years, 2012, 2013, 2014, are the repeats that we are seeing in these recent years. We're seeing kind of the same idea, a lunging prop, a popping prop. We haven't seen the Broken Spine thing because that was kind of a bit faulty in its mechanism. And I will say that one of the downsides to some of these earlier years was that the props were not as well built, especially with the Techie Toys era. But I loved when Techie Toys was in its prominence for Spirit Halloween. I feel like, maybe they didn't make the best made props, but they made the coolest props conceptually and visually. And that's why I really loved these older years, in particular 2014, because there was so many incredible possessed girl props, which are my favorite ones. Also that hanging girl was also really scary. It just made the in-store experience so much cooler and scarier, and just nothing felt like a filler or a dud. So anyways, guys, that is a wrap for what I think are the top 5 best years in Spirit Halloween. I'm sure that a lot of you will have arguments and disagreements, so please let me know what you think. Let me know what are your favorite years of Spirit Halloween. Let me know which one is your top favorite of all time in the years that you have been there. Let me know how long you've been going there. Let's start a dialogue. Talk down in the comments. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and opinions about the video. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe for the daily uploads that are coming this summer 2022. We're almost to the sneak peek season, and I can't wait to give you guys the reports for that. All right, you guys, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.